bloom in spring. Tell me who gives the air that you breathe. Ooh. Everything that you need he will provide, so you may as well come on and give him a try. 'Cause he's awesome. Ooh, he's awesome. He's awesome. What would I do without him? Couldn't make a move without him. I don't wanna be without him. He's awesome.
Greetings, people of God. Welcome to ZMR Ministries. I'm Pastor Z, and thank you for joining me for another episode of What's the Issue Wednesday. Now, today's topic is very, very sensitive. It's called Gifted, Not Disabled. And we're going to be talking about children who have disabilities, and the world sees them as a diagnosis when we see them as being gifted, because of course they're God's children. They may need a little more help, but it doesn't mean that God can use them. And today we have two mothers, amazing mothers, who are also my friends, and they do have gifted children that the world sees as disabled. So we're going to be talking to them about their diagnosis, how they cope, and how they're having, to keep their children with a sense of normalcy so they won't grow up feeling different in such a horrible world. Please help me welcome both of my friends. I have Simone here and I have Rayanna. How y'all doing, ladies?
Good.
Thank y'all so much for joining me. Now, I love y'all kids. Y'all babies are my babies.
Yes.
But I also see how, since they do have not special needs, but what the world considers disabilities, but we see them as totally normal, even though we know they may need a little more push and a little more attention. So what comes to mind when you ladies hear the word disabled, since you have children with some form of disability? Well, you know what? Let me take it back. First, tell me about your children and what the diagnosis is that they have before we move to that.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I have 3 kids, 11, 7, and 5. My 11-year-old has cognitive disorder, which is basically an anxiety disorder that basically shuts down her whole body if she has fear or stress or anxiety. That was definitely something that was hard to diagnose, and we found out after she went into a 12-hour coma and couldn't figure out what was going on.
Wow.
So that's my 11-year-old, and then we have my 7-year-old who is autistic, and he's really fun. And then we just have our 5-year-old who just thinks she owns the world, and that is her problem.
That's her diagnosis.
Yes, that's her diagnosis.
And what about you, Simone?
Well, I have one. It's Mr. Austin. He's 6. And his diagnosis, we're still going through that right now.
Right.
Yes, so when he first started with pre-K, they tested him and they said that he was, I don't know the correct terminology of it, but it's for mental retardation.
And we know, y'all, he ain't nowhere close to the
Not at all. Not at all. So he went to another school district this year, had a teacher, really good. Her son was autistic. So she watched what Austin was doing and she told me, hey, you need to get him retested. She thinks he's autistic. So we're back at the original school district, but through the whole virus and everything, he hasn't been able to get tested again.
Right,
to get an actual diagnosis.
So pretty much you're at square one.
I am.
Yeah.
I am.
That's gotta be frustrating.
It is. Oh my God.
So what do you ladies think when you hear the word disabled? Because that's how the world views your children.
Yes. When I got the first, when they came in, they told me they felt like there was something wrong with Austin. I was devastated. I cried. I guess I cried in there to where they stopped the meeting and they were like, just give her a tissue, and they were getting ready to cry.
Right.
Because it's like, it made me feel like I did something, or what was wrong with me to, get him to this point, and then everything went through how people are gonna look at him. They're gonna treat him a certain type of way.
Right.
they're gonna be mean to him. They think he can't do certain things or he's slow, you know. So all of that started, you know, just rushing through, and they gave me that. So.
And Austin also was preemie.
Yes, he was born 3 months early. So
2 pounds.
2 pounds.
6 ounces.
And he was right there for it.
Yeah, that's my little baby, y'all. Look, it's almost like I'm the second mama, which
Yes.
for real.
Yes.
Okay, what about you, Rayanna? What's the, I guess, the negative vibe that you get from hearing the word disabled?
Well, what I've learned to come to understand that it is just a limit. You have a limit. And
That's good.
everybody has limits.
Right.
You just might not have the same limits as the next person. So I've learned that you just have to know yourself, know your child, and treat them as they need to be treated. You know, the Bible says, train up a child in the way they should go.
Right.
So your training of each child is specific into their direction. So I've definitely learned how to acknowledge each child's strength and understand that some people are limited in some areas and some people are vibrant in others.
And you know what, and it's an individual journey,
Right.
each child.
Right.
You know, whether it's a disability or not, each child is still gonna have their individual journey.
Right.
And I love the way that you said train up a child in the way they should go, you know, because it does make it personal. It does make it personal. So I heard you, Simone, share how you were just devastated when you got the initial news that, you know, there was something wrong with Austin, because we still don't know. So we can't even say there's a diagnosis.
Yeah.
What about you, Rayanna, especially having 2 children with disabilities and then, you know, one that just runs the world?
Well, the thing with my 7-year-old Gabriel is I knew something was wrong. I was able to see it, although it is very controversial. After his 12-month shots, he got really sick. He had a really high fever, and he started to act different ever since then. So he was nonverbal until the age of 2, and we kind of really forced him to talk, but it was, you know, like one word in order for him to get what he wanted.
Right.
So when we first went through the testing process, which was even a deal because my whole family was like, don't let them do that to your child. Don't let them put them in the system. They're going to treat them any kind of way, and they're never going to take them seriously. And so that was just a fight to even let them come in my house to evaluate the child.
She said the child.
The child. But then they just said it was a speech disorder. And I knew that not to be true. I did my research, and I had talked to God, and He had already given me peace about the diagnosis. And for you to ignore all the other signs and just say it's speech, I knew personally that not to be true. So 3 years later, it became more apparent to the teachers and things like that, and they actually came to me and asked if they could retest them. And I said, yes, I would like that. With that came a whole lot of benefits. They were able, just that little diagnosed with autism, signing at the bottom opened up a lot of doors for him to get more therapy and more help, which was very, very important for the process.
And what about your emotions? You know, were you prepared? Because I know you said, you know, I knew something was wrong.
Right.
So do you feel you were prepared once you got the diagnosis?
Yeah, I was relieved when I got the diagnosis, but when I first realized something was different, I was broken. Like, I was broken. His delivery was not easy. He was laying across like this, and the umbilical cord was around his neck. But he ended up coming out fine after a C-section. And just around the whole pregnancy, I got a whole lot of, you shouldn't have got pregnant at this time and things like that, even though I was married. Yeah, so I had a lot of fear and a lot of anxiety and a lot of battling with the whole pregnancy. So then when I noticed something was different going on, I just collapsed. And I also realized that I hadn't been feeling well. And that a lot of my signs looked like lupus at the time. And the only thing I thought of was, what is her name? Toni Braxton's second child is autistic. And that's all I could think. So that really, really scared me. But I prayed, I spoke faith, and then I had to really understand what an autistic diagnosis is. It's not that there's something wrong, it's just something's different.
And you know what? A diagnosis can be traumatizing, but it's also good to know.
Right.
Because it helps you prepare mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. Simone, how did you prepare? We heard Rayanna say she saw the signs. Did you see signs? And if you did, how did you prepare in every area of your life?
I didn't see signs. I think I was in denial.
You were.
Yes.
And you guys, let me say, Simone and I are friends. We've been friends since high school, and we were, when she was pregnant with Austin, she's like, I need you to move in with me. I need help. Yeah. And so I was there every step of the way, and I'm nodding my head because she was in denial completely.
I was like in complete denial. And even his grandmother, when she would watch him, she was like, I knew there was something wrong with my grandbaby, but she was like, I couldn't talk to you about it because you didn't want to listen. So I was just there's nothing wrong with him. Y'all just trying to make up something. There's nothing wrong with him. So I think what made me change was him constantly getting those phone calls from the schools constantly. He's acting up. He's having these fits. He's throwing chairs across the room. And I'm just like...
So it took you years.
It did. Because by the time he was about, 2 going on 3? He was about, 3. And I was like, okay, something wrong with him. So then by then I was like, okay, let me get with somebody, let me get him tested. Like, okay, something going on. But before then, I was just like, oh, you bad. You bad.
Right.
And, I would take him out and he would just do those meltdowns, fall out. And I didn't understand, I'm taking you into a public place where there's a lot of people. He doesn't like that. And I took that as, oh, you falling out because you acting bad. I'm going to whoop you. And,
blunt.
Yes. So, and that, looking back now, that really, it really hurt my feelings and really made me feel bad. I'm whooping you, but really, you had an issue. So,
I agree. I went through that.
She was like, I'll beat them too.
I'm in the stages of it, so.
You know what? But can you really prepare for that at any age, whether you saw the signs or not? Can you really prepare for someone to tell you something's wrong with your kid?
No, you can't. No, because you already have preset in your head. My kid is gonna do this.
Yeah.
This is what's gonna happen. He's gonna be okay. This, and this, and then it's like, no.
Right.
It's pretty much. I'm at the point in my life where you always tell me, I'm so big on this has to go this way, this has to be that way, and I'm just at the point, hey, I don't know how things need to go. I'm just gonna pray about it. Whatever it is, it is.
So, in other words, once you received, the fact or accepted the fact something's wrong, you put limitations on him before they even could.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you do that? Did you have experience with that?
I'm considered the more aggressive parent.
Okay.
So I was just like, you telling me you can't do this, but I know you can. I was very aggressive, and I think that I was a little bit over expectating, because I'm like, if this is the issue, if we just not on the same communication level, I'm gonna say it 900 different ways, but you gonna get this one way, and you gonna get it right. And so I had to pull myself back and just be like, we're gonna give time, we're gonna get process, we're gonna learn something one step at a time, which is my slogan, one step at a time. Instead of one day at a time, one step at a time. But I would like to bring up the diagnosis with my daughter, because that, that shook my world. I don't think, I've ever been as scared in my life. It's she's sitting, she can't hold her own weight up. All she's doing is blinking. She has no control over her body. And pouring doctors over her, and then they're checking her for trauma, everything, because she can't speak for herself. And so that was a very hard process. And then so we had people praying over her. But when they told me it was anxiety, I was like, brain trauma I can do, cancer I can do, but what is this anxiety? Like, I'm just like, how do you I had no idea how you can deal with something like you can't have surgery for, you can't get a pill for, or
because it's an invisible monster.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's almost like people who have panic attacks, where they get anxiety, they have medication, and it's like you don't know when it's coming, it just overtakes you and it's consuming.
Right. And early on, she would just be like, we would get her out of the moment. Like when she was released from the hospital, she was released in a wheelchair. They said her legs perfectly work, but it's not until she's okay that she'll be able to walk again.
Right.
And so, so there would be times where she would get up and she would walk and then she would just collapse in the middle of the floor. And so, spirituality me is like, I'm casting out that demon. It's like, this is not happening, okay? But I had to be patient with her, but I also had to learn her a little bit more, and I had to teach her how to learn herself. Because the crazy thing about it is she was 8. But they said people don't usually start showing symptoms until they're like 14. So she had to start learning herself fast and be able to talk out her problems and actually be honest about what affects her.
And that's a scary thing. Yeah. And I say that because when children are so young, they really haven't learned how to verbalize, what they're going through. They don't know how. They usually internalize it because they don't know how to explain it. And so you have such a young child who has anxiety. She doesn't know what anxiety is. You know what it is by definition. And to you, my uncle used to have really bad anxiety attacks. And, until he started having them, he didn't understand why people were just like freaking out. I can't breathe. I remember one time he got admitted into the hospital, and it was so funny because he had so much anxiety because every nurse that came in was a little person. It's a true story. And when I went up there, he's yelling and screaming. He's like, you're doing it on purpose. You're making me go crazy. And my aunt is done. I'm serious. That's a true story. But he didn't understand why he had such anxiety with the little person. All he knew was, I'm having an anxiety attack. And you guys keep sending in these little people into my room. But I do want to ask because, since now they're labeled, stigmatized, diagnosed, however you want to call it, but society will put a stigma on them, right? So was there ever a point, or are you ever embarrassed now?
So, my son does not like clothes at all. He don't like them. And if he feels comfortable around you, if he's met you and he's cool with you, he might take off his clothes. We're in a house. It might not be mine. I don't feel. Everybody seems cool. Next thing you know, he changes like Superman into his drawers. So sometimes he has moments. Sometimes he'll go up and hug a complete stranger. But he's super strong.
Super sweet though.
Super sweet. Super strong that he has broken, like in our last house, he broke all the doorknobs off that he uses. All of them. Kitchen, closets, bedrooms. He's broken them all. He's just super strong. So when he goes up to people and hug him, he like
Barely.
No,
Tackle.
really tight.
Yeah, like a tackle, like,
Right.
like he's hitting you for football. So it's like, sorry. I don't know sometimes if I should just like pre-announce, he's autistic. Like, I don't know what to do sometimes. I'm not embarrassed, but I do feel sometimes the need to let people know this is what you're experiencing right now, so you don't feel any other sort of way.
And what about you, Simone?
Austin, he goes out in public. He's okay for the most part. He doesn't like I said, he doesn't fool with a whole lot of people. So he'll talk to a few here and there. Women, that's a whole other. Yeah. I don't care. The older they are, for some reason, he will make sure you say hi to him and give him a hug. He loves women. So I'm just like, I have to tell him sometimes, he'll get in their face, what you doing? Have a hug. And I have to tell him, hey, leave him alone. Come on.
I remember one incident though, Simone, because he did go through, he went through a phase with his mom, where he would just act out.
Oh, yes.
Falling out. And I remember she came in the house, y'all, she's sweating. And she's huffing and puffing. She got him by one arm. And, I'm looking like, what is going on? And she's like, he fell out in the store. He's kicking and screaming. He did this. And I'm like, what are you doing? Do you think I won't whoop you in front of these people? Like, she is blowing the lid. And I'm trying to stay calm, but it's comical because she's pissed. Yeah. But Austin is like, la la la. No.
We call Austin the Cabbage Patch Kid.
Well, the Sour Patch Kid.
Yeah. Because one minute he's so, the next minute is, what are you doing? Oh, but yeah, like I said, in those beginning stages.
Right.
Or if I would take him around, some of my old coworkers, and he'd have those fits, they would be like, you need to whoop him, you're not doing this and that. It wasn't there, because I'm just like, you don't know what I do in my house. She's not there.
Yeah, and you know what? Encountering people who have children with autism, because I have family members, of course y'all are my friends, but I have family members whose children have autism. And so it's like you're constantly having to explain.
Why?
That's one thing I picked up, because everyone else is it, especially in the black community. You need to whoop their butts. Oh, they wouldn't be embarrassing me. And I remember when I was Uber driving one day, and I picked up this lady. She had 3 children. One had autism, and she was so calm. I mean, he was very, upset. He was kicking in the back seat, and she was just calmly holding his arms down, holding his legs. She was talking to him, very patient. And when she got in the car, she told me, she said, "My son has autism," and that was it. And it was like, I'm letting you know up front, so don't get, and I remember talking to her, I shared with her, I was like, my little cousin has autism, we were just talking about the effects, how other people treat you. Because when you think about it, you said earlier, the devastation hits and you're like, they're going to treat my child different, they're going to treat them like, they're not normal. But honestly, the parents get mistreated too.
Yes.
Because then you're getting the bad looks. Like, you're not a good parent, you don't know how to parent your child, you're not disciplining them, and it's like, I shouldn't have to explain to you.
Yes.
I don't owe you that. This is my kid, and even if they didn't have a disability, if I want them to fall out of the floor, it's really my business.
Yes. Oh, I got into it with a few of my old coworkers. They wanted to tell me about what I wasn't doing. Why he was acting like that. And at the time, that's when I was in that denial stage, and I was like, I didn't see there was something wrong with him. So, like, we would go out and he'd have his fits. I mean, he's overwhelmed. We're in this place and it's too many people around him. Y'all are around him, you touching on him, talking. He don't want that. Like, leave him alone. So he'd have his fits. And he on the floor. You need a belt. You need a whoop. And once he's in those fits, and one thing I learned too, when they're like that, you have to stay calm. They're gonna feed off of your energy.
Your energy.
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
Yes.
Is whatever I give my son, and that's what I had to find out about the whoopings and everything. Whatever I gave my son, it would automatically ricochet into something else.
Right.
And so
I'm whooping him, then all of a sudden he done punched his sister in the face.
Yes.
Or all of a sudden he went to school and punched another kid. Like whatever, they match energy. So whatever you give them, they give back. And so you have to, even though, it might make you look societally like a punk, you have to talk to them.
Right.
You have to calm them down. You have to grab the limbs. And you have to say whatever you need to say to your child in order to get them to understand the situation and understand what needs to proceed. And so it is, sometimes it is one of those things that I had to personally deal with my family. And them feeling that I wasn't disciplining him enough, and I knew that I was whooping him, I knew I was punishing him, but it wasn't working.
Right.
To the point that they felt like they wanted to handle the disciplinary of my child. So you want to whoop my child because you think I'm not whooping him right. Okay, we got problems. Okay. but I would, then show, guys, this is not working, and he doesn't process this way. So we gotta try something else.
Right.
And so once that was all processed for everybody, we were able to understand we have to try other things.
Yes.
Sometimes you do need to pop on your hand because you knew that was wrong.
Yeah.
that word pop was very hard.
You knew what that was.
You knew that
But I
very
had
early.
the same situation, with my mom, and she was like, I think he got in trouble at school. And I brought him over to her house because I was tired. I had to get off of work. I was tired. I was like, it's like the third time this week they called me. So he was in fight mode. And whoopings make him power up. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's his human strength. But when you whoop him, he's ready to fight. He's gonna fight you. So, I whooped him and he fighting. I was tired. I was already tired. So my mama got him, so she whooped him. So when she whooped him, he fighting her. Then she was like, I'm whooping no more. There's something wrong with it.
So what?
And I'm just like,
Why it don't make sense until they do?
yeah. So I was like, well, you got to whoop him now. You see what I'm going through. And I was like, see, I told you this ain't working. But like you said, when he had those moments, like I would just hold him and stop him from fighting. And I would just put him in a barrel. And he didn't like it. But I would hold him and I would actually just be in his ear and I would just pray and pray. And I keep a real soft voice. And it got to the point where he would just stop fighting, he'd break down and just cry.
Yeah.
And mommy, and I'm like, okay, I got you now.
Austin an actor though.
He is.
Let me just say that he's an actor. When Rayanna was saying, they play off your energy, he plays off her energy. let me just put that little disclaimer in there. I'm not gonna give her a whole violin.
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean,
he looks like I told her earlier, those falling out, those fits,
right.
They're real slim.
And a lot of it though was just him growing up.
Yeah.
Because he's 6 now. You know what I mean? And so I think any parent, can relate to that. A 3-year-old, a toddler, a 4-year-old falling out. I know some parents be like, not my child. But the reality is they're gonna do it. They're gonna do it. So
but his falling out, they were a little bit.
He fell out with
worse
Simone.
fits.
He fell out.
He fell out with them teachers too. I mean,
With the teachers.
When you throwing chairs upside your teacher's head,
Yes. Yeah.
That's not.
Look, don't be putting my baby out there. Like, look, next question. Don't be throwing his business out there.
I'm just saying.
No, but I do want to ask, because I'm glad that we're able to make light of it because there are so many other parents who are stuck. They're just like, I don't know what to do. I see you guys laughing, but I'm over here having a meltdown. What was the defining moment for you two when, you got the diagnosis, you see, the behavioral issues, you're getting the judgment from other people. What was the defining moment, even if you've been overwhelmed, that you said, I'm not going to stop fighting for my kid, period? Because I know just, experiencing it with Simone, there were many times where she would have a complete meltdown.
Oh, yeah.
She just couldn't deal, I remember I moved across town like an hour away and she called me and was like, go ahead, Austin, I can't do it. And I'm like, you want me to drive across town when you're 15 minutes away? And she was like, yes! And I was like, okay, I'm going. And so you're already dealing with all of that, and you've been viewed a certain way. You know, what's the breaking point that you say, you know what, it doesn't matter, it's my child, I'm going to keep fighting?
Well, for me, because I'm the more
Aggressive
one, I come in swinging. I don't play. And this is what we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
With teachers, I don't play.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing you're gonna know is my name. I give you teacher's face. Hi, how are you? I'm Rayanna Walker, and this child means the world to me. Like, that's what I do. We start out here. He's important. He's different. I'm gonna walk you through everything I know. You have all the notes. We're gonna have a conversation about this on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I set deadlines. I don't play. Okay, you learned something. You're telling me. We have a communication. The first week of school, without fail, I call in the middle of the school day and I make someone get the teacher on the phone to tell me how my child is doing.
Right.
So the first thing I do without fail is I make sure that everybody around him knows he's important and knows he's valuable.
That's good.
And let them know that I care. This is not one of those that you're gonna get over with.
Right.
You know,
I'm
if
just
I
throwing them on you guys.
right, I'm not. That's not me. If I see his clothes is different and you have not written me a letter, you're gonna get a letter from me. You know, I need to know everything, and so I start off with that understanding.
Making yourself present.
Right, making myself present, making myself known, even though I have my own illnesses. I have lupus and fibromyalgia, so I'm not as active as I used to be. I'm still on every email, every phone call. I'm just a phone call away. So if I'm not there, you're still hearing from me. And then, so I also talk to the special teachers who do, occupational special therapy and
right.
all of them. And if they have new notes or anything, send them to me. Don't just give them to the teacher. You give them to me too. I need to know what you're doing and what's working and
right.
what's not working.
Right.
So we can all do this together.
Mm-hmm. And what about you, Simone?
Yeah, I'm like that with their teachers too. His teacher that he has right now, he had her last year. So I always let the teachers know, like you said, when I first met her, tell her Austin's gonna try and play you. I need you to be strong.
Yeah, absolutely.
I need you to be strong. I said, he's a kid. Once he gets comfortable, you gonna love him.
Mm-hmm.
But I said, you can't let him know, oh, I love you so much. I said, because if he see it, he gonna play you. So, I had her cell phone number.
Mm-hmm.
She had mine. So if he had a bad day or if she needed answer, we text each other throughout the day. And she started to learn how to teach him. Because I let her know, hey, he may act like he doesn't know this word. So with him, he's competitive. He always knows, I'm a winner. I'm number one.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay. So I told him, if he don't want to do his work, go act like he doing the work with him and be like, ooh, I'm the one, I beat you. I said, do that with him. And she did. And see, no, I can do it. I do it. And she texted me, it worked. He's doing all his work. So it's, like to really working with them. Mm-hmm. My next task is the specialist. So since, everything has been shut down, right. I feel like if you're the specialist and you're supposed to give him his services, you come and talk to me, you do a face-to-face, we do a Zoom, and you show me. Because yes, we are at the house doing this, but you need to show me what I'm doing. And so I had to send her emails. Hey, don't just email me and stuff. You come call me and tell me what it is I need to do. So it's like now she's interacting with me more. So like you said, it's just staying on them. And like I told them, I'm going to work with you. You work with me. I'm not going to be one of those parents where, here you go, I don't know what's going on. I want to know everything. Because I feel like they're the teachers and they're only there with them, throughout the school year. But that's still your kid. So you need to know how to teach them, how to train them. You need to know skills just like them. And make sure that they're doing the right skills.
Right. I think the biggest thing that both of you are conveying is we're a team.
Right.
The teachers, you, the specialists, the kid, we all need to be aware of what's going on because we all have, time with the child.
Yes.
You get what I mean? We all are dealing with all of the behavioral issues, the
Right.
diagnosis. It's not just one person. Oh, you have them at school, and then, I'm not worried about what you do at home.
Yeah.
Because what's at home is going to reflect in school,
Right.
and what's at school is going to reflect at home. So it's very important that you all stay a team
Right.
and stay on one accord so there can be consistency,
Right.
with the improvement, whether it's whatever it is, remain consistent.
Yes.
Remain consistent. So I do want to ask, because it is you involved, but I know all of us are believers, right? And so when you think about you, your faith, and then the doctor's report, when you got that, what did you believe? And what was your mental process like, in regards to your faith and the doctor's report? Preach, woman.
Well, it's taught me a lot. I used to have standards around my faith. If I don't do X, Y, Z, element of P, I'm not as saved as I was last week.
Right.
And it taught me how to rely on my relationship from my actual connection with God. Because in between these temper tantrums, in between you having a whole fit, you over here falling out, you over here climbing on chairs, breaking doorknobs. I can't stop and have a whole tearing service.
Right.
I can't. I need to be able to sincerely have a full conversation with God in 2 seconds.
Right.
And it had the same power and the same intensity as if I had my prayer shawl on and I was laying out for an hour. And so it has taught me how to sincerely pray, take my intercessory level to a whole nother, just a whole nother level, but not with the ritualistic things that I was originally doing. It's taught me great patience. Be careful what you pray for. It might give you a few kids back to back. Just saying. It's taught me patience and how to be responsible and how to be creative and how to focus on what's important.
I think the biggest thing and I'm going to go to you, but one thing that I have noticed with whether it was family or friends who have children, especially with autism, is you become very innovative. Because you're constantly learning what works for them.
Right.
And it's like you really can't go by a book.
You can't.
You can't go by a book. And one thing I learned from my cousin is, she had to self-teach because she didn't have a therapist, she didn't have a specialist, so she researched a lot. And so when she started altering her life according to what she felt like he needed and worked for them, then of course it was a slower process, but he eventually got to where she felt like he needed to be. So I think that's really good that you said that, because I'm sure there are some parents who are listening and they're just like, the book's not working.
Yes.
What about you, Simone? What about your faith in the doctor's report?
Man, I feel like, I'm just starting my whole
Faith journey.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I can say within these last couple, just everything that's happened in these last couple of years, it's been like, I'm always the tiptoe and, well, I think I should just walk this way. I need to do it this way. And with Austin, I wasn't doing anything the way it was a straight where, oh my God, I was praying more. And especially it was like when they left and I was really by myself and it was like, now I gotta figure it out. I've never prayed so much in my life. And it got to the point of, I even said one of my prayers, I was like, I don't even know what to do. I'm done. I'm not going to tell you what I want. Show me what I'm supposed to be doing with this little boy. Because I'm just like, this boy on a whole nother level and I don't know what I'm doing. But it has taught me so much patience. Like even, I think he teaches me. Like he teaches me how I need to teach him. And it's stuff like, if I'm going on and on, Austin, you need to do this. Why are you doing this? And he'll tell me, Mommy, stop. Let me talk. And it's stuff that makes me catch myself. And I'm just like, oh, he's trying to tell me something. And I have to stop how I'm reacting to things. And like, it's really put me on a whole different level. So I'm grateful for the diagnosis. Thank you. Because I think it makes me a better person.
So are you both prepared for the long haul? You know, because of course in our spiritual lives, in our faith walks, we trust God and we're like, we believe, you know, that A, B, and C, oh, he's coming out. He's gonna, you know how we do. But, you know, what if that's not God's purpose for their life? And he decides, hey, they're never going to be normal according to the, you know, society and the status quo. Are you guys prepared for the long haul?
I am.
If they never become self-sufficient.
I am. And you know, I have to thank you for it too. I don't know if it's good or bad. But I still teach him what you teach him now, you know. He don't think there's anything wrong with him. He think he is the most cutest kid in the whole world.
That's
and
right.
you can't tell
He
him
gets it from his auntie.
Yes. Oh my God. So I feel like if Austin never leave my house, I have to take care of him. Okay. You know, I'm okay with that. And I feel like, you know, I want Austin to be okay. There's nothing wrong with you. You know, it's just, you just need a little extra help. But you still cute.
You know, I think the biggest thing, Austin's support system was so huge even from the beginning. And it's because we were all in the same house. It was me, you, Bridget, which is her sister. And, you know, we all had a newborn, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like by the time I moved in, Austin came home from the hospital like 2 days later. And so we were all up in the middle of the night. No one slept.
Yeah.
And he had 3 mamas literally in the house. And so, but the thing is, because we understood where Simone was emotionally and mentally, and she was just not wanting to accept at all. We were the realistic ones, like, girl, you need to get yourself together. You know, it's good if you go ahead and accept it, so you can do what he needs, you know, in order so he can get better. And so when she says, you know, she has me to thank, it's not me boasting, but, you know, I always always treated him like nothing's wrong. You get what I'm saying? Because, you know, once that gets in their head, then insecurity sets in, they get to school, and then they become, you know, isolated, and, you know, one little kid says anything, you already know he's dealing with anger issues. He already acts out. So it's like you try to create a peaceful environment, you know, build his confidence, so when those negative emotions or comments come, then he can offset that with the confidence that was already built in him at home. What about you, Rayanna?
Well, you know, we were just talking about faith. Well, I think I will definitely take it if that is what the Lord has for me. I think something that the Lord has taught me through not only the experience with my kids, but the experience with my own health is I can deal and prepare with now, and still leave the door open for you to come in at any point.
Right.
You can completely heal me at any point. You can completely deliver my children at any point. But if this is what we have to deal with, I'm completely prepared and taking responsibility for what's in front of me. And so definitely willing to do that. I don't know what Gabriel's going to be, but I know he's going to be awesome.
He's going to be super.
He's
like super smart, y'all.
He is.
And I'm not just saying that because he's my friend. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're
but
right.
You know, I love all her babies, but you know, every time he sees me, he melts my heart. And he does
chocolate women.
And he does almost knock the wind out of you when he sees you. You know, it's like that football tackle, and you just got to brace.
Yeah.
Hey, baby. But on the inside, you're like, my rib is broke.
Definitely, he's very, very strong, but he's very sweet. And like I was saying earlier today, we didn't even know he could read. Calvin was reading a book to him, and he said, now, let me see what words you know. And this little boy read the rest of the book. With him, you never know until you try certain things. So everything with him is a learning experience. It's never a dull moment with the whole household. But it is definitely, I'm excited to see whatever God chooses to use him for. But I strongly believe that he's going to use him to change the world.
You know what? I think, when it comes to timing, of course, according to the world standards, there is a timing of when they should be reading, when they should be writing, when they should be doing all these things. But it's really in their own time.
Right.
And just like you said, I didn't know he could read. It was a lot of things that, we didn't know Austin could do. I remember my granny would say, Austin can walk. He just doesn't want to. When he wants to walk, he's gonna walk. And it was like one day he just got up and was taking off, and we was like, oh, so you've been playing us this whole time, really? But there were a lot of things that, just like Rayanna was just saying, that he just started doing.
Yeah.
And we knew he was comprehending. Bridget would say it all the time. That boy know what he's doing. And I think, but I also think that's an added treasure. Because it's like you get these special little gifts along the way where it's just like they surprise you and you're like, oh my God, and that brings encouragement. But it's
I told her we were doing his homework and he did not want to do it. And I was like, well, we're going to go out to eat. He wanted to go out to eat. Well, let's go. And I was like, no, we're going to do this homework first. So homework was, we're putting down what you have to do in the morning time. And he just I guess he got tired of me talking to him. So I was like, what's the first thing we do? We wake up. So I had the slips. All he had to do was pick the slip up, put wake up. He got the paper. I said, wake up. And he spelled out wake up. And I was like, so you spelling now?
He wanted to go eat.
Yeah.
Pretty much. That's what he was saying. Wake up, mommy. I can do this. I want to go eat.
So I was like, oh, we spelling. So you know how to spell.
So even with all the highs and lows and joys, that come with it, and the sorrow, the pain, the tears, was there ever a time that you wanted to give up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. I remember. I know y'all remember. I used to tell y'all, when is mama coming?
Oh my gosh. That's first of all, that's so funny because I asked her when he was like 2. And I said, has his son kid? You're a mom now. And she's like, no, I'm still waiting to see who's coming to pick him up. And I was like, girl, this is your kid. Like, get over it. It's 2 years in.
That's completely. I just said to Calvin last week, I was like, dude, we got like 3 kids. So do you realize
one is a mini adult. She's 12.
That's why she has the nickname that she has. She's a little grown person. And so, yeah, giving up is weird for me, but I did feel, because I'm a fighter, but I did feel I am at the point that I can't take any more.
Right.
I'm going to collapse. Like, you can't put any more on me. It's not possible. I'm just gonna fall over and die. And that I had been at that place so many times where I just couldn't fathom taking any more or getting any more news or taking somebody else's problem and dealing with mine and being at home with kids and all that. It just got overwhelming at so many different places, but that really goes back to he won't put on more than you can bear. But golly, I was double checking. Be like, you sure that ain't the one straw that's gonna break this back over here? And it is, I don't know if that's a scripture. I don't know if that's put more on you with bear, but he does say a lot of things that he always looks out for us and things like that. And that he's gonna be with us, and at some points he just had to float and carry me. Like, I swear, angels was holding me up because I had nothing left. And so that became the situation a million times.
But you know what? I'm so grateful that you ladies are being honest about that. Because so many other parents feel like, I can't voice that, I'm supposed to be the mom, I'm supposed to fight, I'm supposed to always be the cheerleader, I'm rooting for my kid, when in reality you're in a corner bawling.
Rocking
I remember one time, like, because Simone is very open about this, so I ain't throwing her under the bus. But she went through postpartum really bad, right?
I was on medication.
And so we were all on high alert. We was like, she's crazy. She's gonna kill us all. Okay, this baby is hollering. We're not concerned about the baby. We have one eye open for her, right? And so what was happening was, of course, she had a safety net with her sister and I when it came to Austin, but we gave her the space to be okay in it. We didn't make her feel like she had a mental issue. Her sister went through postpartum, so it was very normalized. And I think sometimes you just need other people to be honest. So when you have these breakdowns, you don't feel like I'm an anomaly. I have thoughts of just taking myself out and my kid, and you're like, girl, you better relax.
Now, you know me, and I'm the type of, I'm not gonna tell you something wrong with me. I'll just pop, I'm okay, until I just.
But during that time, she was.
Yeah. And I was really trying to just hold it together, and I would just be in the house. And I wish I really just went through it. But I kept trying to be, I'm okay.
Right.
It was like, right after, it was so much about the same situation. I got pregnant with Austin. I was dealing with stuff with his dad. I was working. Then Austin came early. And I was just out of there when he came early. Like, the doctor came and tried to check on me, and I'm just like, can I go back to work? And he was like, he wouldn't even talk to me because he was like, you're in shock right now.
She's psychotic.
So right after I had Austin, the day I had Austin, I was up walking around telling people how to go find NICU, right over here. And the nurses were like, why are you walking around? It didn't click. Hey, you just had a baby, your life is changing. I'm still like, And then when that postpartum hit, I was at the doctor's office crying. I don't know what's wrong with me. I was at work crying. Like, I was so depressed. And people think, as a kid get older, the postpartum go away, depression go away. I just found out a couple months ago. I'm just like, I don't think I'm depressed anymore. And that's almost 6 years later.
No, that's not the conversation. She called me and she says,
Oh yeah.
I think I was depressed a little bit.
I love people
really?
like that. Yeah. So I was like, yeah.
You think?
They got me postpartum.
But the thing about it is once she opened up about it, she had so many other people, not just her sister, but then even a good friend of mine who had a preemie some months later, went through postpartum, and she was on medication. And she was just like, I'm freaking out. Is this normal? And Simone was like, hey, take the medicine.
It's great.
You know what I mean? And so that's why it's super important to be honest about what you're feeling, breakdowns, feeling mentally unstable, because you want other mothers and other parents, because there are some dads out there who are dealing with it alone or even in marriages. You want them to know, what, that's normal. It's good. Have your breakdown. You are gonna feel it. You know what? I felt that way too. So they won't feel like, I'm isolated in that. I'm a horrible parent. I'm a horrible parent or person for thinking that I want to ball my kid up and just throw them across the street and then go get them and say, it's okay. Everybody has those moments. And it wasn't until, I can say for her, until she started being open, that you start seeing other people say, you know what, thank you for that. Now I feel okay for having a complete meltdown. Now I feel okay for terrorizing the entire house. And that was her.
I will never forget, they came home from work, and I just woke up with Austin, and I was in the kitchen cleaning knives, and
She was. No, that's a true story.
She was like, put the knife down. And I was like, I'm just so tired.
She's like, I just need to wash the dishes. I was like, there are no dishes. There are only knives. Only knives. Seriously, I was like, nah. Where's the kid?
And my sister was standing on the other side, like. And so she was like, she grabbed me and was like, we'll finish this. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna lay down. And she
right. The first thing when we saw the knives, because she was like, I'm doing dishes. stitches, and I looked and I was like, they're only nice. I'm looking at Bridget and she just takes off to go get the kid. I was like, Jesus, man, like, who are we living with right now? But it was like we were so protective because we were still working regular jobs, and it was time for us. We took a couple of days off, but then Simone had to stay home with the baby.
3 months. In that
And we couldn't even function at work because it was constantly like, are you alive? Pinch the baby and let me hear him cry.
I was paranoid about him because he was a preemie.
Right.
And my first kid, she passed away. So, and I said, just so crazy how God like to just kiki with you. So my daughter and Austin are 10 years apart, and their birthdays are, 1 month apart, 1 day apart. And their actual due date was the same due date. So
it was a repeat.
Yes,
it was a repeat.
It was a repeat of everything.
I mean, the whole process, the premature labor, it was just a repeat. And so I think that played a big part, emotionally. Definitely. Because her thing was, she thought, okay, this is a repeat. It's been a repeat in every step. Now he's gonna die. It was like, we were like, not on my watch.
Yeah,
pretty much.
They used to get mad at me because, he just. I was like, let me check his temperature.
Temperature for everything. If he fell out, we need to take his temperature. He has a fever. I'm like, girl, stop. But I just really love that that you guys are so open. That you are showing your pain, you are showing your emotions, you're showing your mess ups. Because even earlier in the conversation when you were saying, oh yeah, I whooped them, and then you realize it wasn't working. Yeah. Because there are some parents out there watching, they're like, I just beat my kid watching this. And now that I'm watching this, I'm like, okay, my bad.
It makes you feel bad.
Yeah. So what advice would you give other parents, not just mothers, about the process mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically? Because sometimes it did take a toll on you guys physically, just going through all of this, especially, you having your own ordeal, with sickness and diagnosis. What advice would you give other mothers who are watching?
I would say, be honest with yourself with it. If you see that your kid, something is different with your kid, see it, own up to it, and find out what it is. That's for me. Like I said, I wasn't no, Austin's just so smart. There's nothing wrong with him. I took because Austin was slower at certain things. He can't have a disability because he's too smart. So I didn't want to believe it. So you do what's best for your kid. Right. If you know that something's different with them, it's okay. It just means they don't learn like this kid. They're gonna get it. They just don't learn like this kid, or it may take them a little bit more time. And give yourself time for a break because it is stressful. Really trying to learn, okay, so how is it, do they learn? That's the biggest thing for me that I'm working on now. It's like, okay, y'all are diagnosing him this, that's not him. I can tell he's more over here. So it's like, for me, now I'm learning, okay, so how do you learn? So it's a lot of trial and error, but it is fun because we do Play-Doh, we do, more hands-on things. He's a visual person. So I do visual learning with him, and it's music. He loves music. So anything with music, I sing to him how to brush his teeth. That's how he learned. I made up a brushing teeth song. So you be creative. It makes you be so creative. But then dealing with them and you keeping your sanity, it really makes you get into your work.
Right.
Because if you try and do it by yourself, you're going to jump off that bridge. But yeah, don't beat yourself up. That's the biggest thing. Don't beat yourself up or think you did something wrong or it's your fault. Kids are fine. They just learn different. But like I told you, I don't never treat Austin like something wrong with him. He's different, because they are very smart. And if they know that you think, oh, they don't know how to do it, they'll play you.
Right.
So.
Right.
Well, can I hit on postpartum?
Go ahead, yeah, absolutely.
Postpartum is real, and you definitely have to deal with it. You have to let people in. because I am an only child. So I had never been around people raising a child.
Right.
I didn't know what that looked like. I didn't know what that felt like. So after I had my first child, I was definitely overwhelmed with, I am the protector of this live thing.
This life.
I'm her mother, and if anything happens to her, that could mean death. That can mean destruction. That can mean everything. And so, because I loved her so much and I was so protective, what I would do is I would go and lock the door behind my husband when he left in the morning. I would go and I would lock all the doors in the bathroom, and then I would lock myself in my bedroom, and I would stay there the whole day. I would make sure I had water and everything, and I would stay there all day because I was terrified of anything happening to her. And so that was my postpartum experience. Just the fear of the responsibility and everything like that. So it is very important that you talk to somebody. I don't think that it took me so long to figure out what I was going through and what I was dealing with. And it was like, oh, this is what they be talking about. Oh, because I done psyched myself out. I done thought somebody's going to steal my baby. I mean, people knocking on my door, I would answer it. It was just the guy trying to fix the pipe, you know? It was so, you know, I had stuff made up in my head. I would watch the same movie just so I could laugh because I was so depressed, and then I would just cry. So that's something, and so it's something that, you know, I vowed never to go through again, but it's crazy how the enemy still tries to insert fear no matter what.
Right.
So with her, it was that. With Gabriel, he stopped breathing at one point, but it turns out he's just silly, but it scared me because he was turning blue. And then the last situation with my daughter is I had a C-section with all three of them. But I was in so much pain, I asked to be discharged because I didn't feel like they were managing my pain right, and I didn't want to be looked like as a druggie. So I get home, could barely walk, and I fall asleep with her in my arms. I wake up and I'm completely wet. And so I'm thinking my child is bleeding, and I'm thinking, you know, she's not with me. And so I pick her up, and she's fine, and it's me. It's my C-section had filled up a sack of liquid, and it had ruptured. I had ruptured again. And so even with that even caused me to have fear about how she slept and things like that. And then I was like, but after the third child, you kind of know how fear tries to get you. And so we're not going to do this.
Right.
We're not going to let this surround the life of your child, nor surround how you raise your children. But as far as other parents, make sure you have people around you. You need different people. So you need people at the school that you can talk to, know your contact people. You need people around you that you can talk to and just fuss. You need people who deal with the same thing your child got. Facebook has so many different groups of people, and you think that this is only your child, and it's not. And, you know, we were talking about the handbook is not working because there's not really a handbook for your child. But when people start posting the random thing that their child does, it'd be like, hey, my child does do that too. That makes sense now. You know, so it really helps. So you need those types of people, and then you need somebody spiritual around you that when you are, you know, at that place where you have those spiritual strength, you can't utter a prayer, you don't have the strength for it, they can go ahead and push you on through. So that's what I would say.
I appreciate that so much. I mean, not just both of y'all stories are so full of strength, and it's colorful because it reminds you of a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Where sometimes you're like, yeah, and then sometimes you
Right.
You know, and it's like that's the beauty of the journey.
Yeah.
You know, that's the beauty of the journey. And somebody is freshly, you know, pregnant and they've already received a diagnosis. Somebody just had a baby and then it's like, I thought I had a healthy baby, and then you tell me something's wrong with my child. And then there's somebody who's already in the journey. They're looking at your story and they're just like, okay, I'm not a part of the Facebook group, but I'm watching Rayanna right now. I'm watching Simone right now. And you know what? That's totally normal. Thank you, ladies, for making me feel like I'm okay. And then you have others who have already raised their children, who have the same diagnosis as your two kids, and they're just like, y'all, I've been there, done it.
Right.
You would be all right.
Right.
And those kids would be all right too.
Right.
So I'm glad, you know, and I hope that anyone who is watching at whatever phase you're in, that their stories and their journeys were able to encourage you, that it was uplifting, that you feel empowered, and you also feel like I ain't crazy.
Yeah.
You know, so I hope that you take this opportunity to reach out to groups like Rayanna said, or even if you want to reach out to these two ladies, I'm going to have that information below so you guys can reach out to them, and hopefully they'll be even more encouragement for you or help you in your steps on your journey. Ladies, thank y'all so much for joining me. Again, thank you so much for being open, for the laughter, for walking me down memory lane, and just for being completely honest. Listen, thank you all for joining me for another episode of Wednesday, What's the Issue? You know, next Wednesday we'll have another amazing topic with amazing guests. But tomorrow is Thursday, so you know that means it's Bible study. Come and walk the Word with me. We're going to get fresh revelation. And y'all know what we do on Thursday evenings. We eat together. So come and join me, okay? Thank you so much for tuning in. Ladies, tell everybody have a good night.
Good night.
See y'all later.
And I'm moving forward. I'm training in my soul.